How many of you that were not here Thursday either listened to the conference call yesterday or a recording of it by a show of hands? Wait, how many of you were not here Thursday and have not listened to the conference call? That's what I really want to know. Okay, a small number. Okay, good. So here's what I can do real quick. Can we get this going up here? Why did you turn off? You guys have recognition timed out?
Louis' iPad is the only thing.
Should have let me know. There's more than one iPad in the world. So here's what I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to do a real quick review. What am I going to do?
Real quick review.
For those of you that weren't here Thursday. Here's what I want to challenge you though. How many of you want to have your best year ever in your life in 2020?
Yes.
How many of you are totally committed to your best year ever in 2020?
Amen.
Woo! Okay. How many of you know that you can have your best year ever in 2020? Yes?
Yes.
How many of you know that to have your best year ever, for things to change for you, that you must change?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay? So I'm going to sprinkle in some ideas as to how you might want to consider changing. You're in charge. You decide where you want to change and where you want to remain the same. But one of the things I want you to consider changing is if you're an A student, which I never was. I was talking to a young man that graduated from my kid's high school last night. He's in college now. And he's back in town for the holidays. I was talking to him. He's playing baseball at a college, and I was asking him, "How's the workload?" And he's like, "No, I'm adjusting well." He's like, and I'm like, "Well, how well are you adjusting?" He's like, "Well, I got all A's." I'm like, "You did what?" He's like, "Yeah." I go, "How many classes did you take?" And he was like, "It was either 6 or 7." And I was like, "I don't think all of high school and all of college combined I had 6 A's, right? You did it all in one semester. Like, how the heck did you do that, right?" So I wasn't a very good student in high school and college, but here's what I know: the kids that were really good students, who weren't just naturally gifted like with a photo. I mean, some kids just photographic memory. They don't take notes. They don't study. It just like happens, right? But the kids that work and excelled at a high level, here's what I know. Guess what happened if they missed the class? What they do if they missed the
Contact
class?
somebody in the class.
Saw the teacher.
Get the notes, contacted somebody in class, met with the teacher. Is it possible that those that were really driven did all three?
Yes.
Right? Maybe met with a student or two who they knew were good note takers, got their notes, had them go over the notes with them, maybe scheduled time between classes to meet with the teacher. Like they went out of their way to figure out what they missed because they assumed what they missed was important in the long scope of things, right? The big picture, yes?
Yes.
Be a good student. If you want to have your best life ever and you want us to be a part of that, you want us to help you with that, be a great student here, okay? Like, oh, it was just a meeting. I'm going next week. Or I'm going to the next meeting. Like, when you take that sort of a mentality, you're really not trying to be your best student. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah.
Like, I just want, just to put it in context, I'm not beating you up, I'm not shaming you, I just want you to be aware, because awareness is the first step to change. How much effort would it have really taken to reach out to 2 or 3 teammates you know who are good note takers and get like notes on Thursday's class? Or to find out, did Fitzroy record it like he is today, right? Or to find out, like, listen to the conference call that was recorded Friday and posted and like find out, hey, what was different about Thursday's training than Friday's? Like, all of these resources are available. What middle class people routinely do is they assume successful people are more resourceful. Like they have more resources. Where successful people are smarter than I am, they're more talented, they get opportunities that I don't, they have money, I don't have money, they've got an education. Like they assume that people who are more successful have more resources, and it's never the case. Successful people are more resourceful. They do more with what they have. I was talking to Edmund, newest associate in the MOSA. I said there's a valuable principle I learned years ago. It's actually one of the affirmations that you can borrow. And it's this principle of taking 100% complete responsibility for your entire life. Now, what middle class people tend to do is they take responsibility for parts of their life. But then there's other parts that aren't my fault. Because it's the boss, it's the company, it's the education, it's my upbringing, it's the wrong side of the tracks, I'm the wrong gender, I'm the wrong race, I'm the wrong way. Like, and it's I'm not saying that there aren't any things that exist that can make it more difficult for you. There are. Like, we all have things that make it more difficult for us. True or not true? True. I had a freaking heart attack and triple bypass surgery at 48 because I got bad genetics. Like, that's not fair, right? It's like, why did I get the bad genes and have to deal with all that BS? Why not other people, right? So there are going to be situations that you can't control, but rather than parceling and choosing, the way to get the most out of yourself and the way to experience the most and have the most that you want is just take total responsibility for everything, rather than trying to pick and choose. So like, everything, I'm responsible for everything in my life. Everything. And the minute you really assume complete responsibility for everything, there's nobody to point any fingers at. And when there's nobody to point any fingers at, it goes one of two ways. One, it's unbelievably frustrating, because it's really not my fault in this case. Or two, it's unbelievably empowering and liberating. Because if things are going to change, I know exactly who I need to get in touch with. Me. Right? I know exactly where to get started with things. And success is always an inside-out game. Success always starts in the inside, it manifests itself in the outside world. Success as a student starts on the inside, it's manifested on the outside. Success in health, in business, in finances is always an inside-out game. I was sharing with Edmund, like, I've shared this example before, but I just want to share it in a different way as we get started. Like life, as we want to progress and grow in life and achieve more, experience more, contribute more, serve more, have more, there's stages that we go through. How many of you know that to be true? Yes. Here's what I mean by that. When people are stuck in credit card debt or struggling with a lack of savings or struggling with debt or struggling with like paycheck to paycheck and trying to pay the bills and just struggling with that, their assumption is one of two things. One, it's either not my fault, right? It's not my fault, right? And so then they're really stuck because it's not my fault. Why? Because of fill in the blank. Like, choose anybody to blame that you want. The company, the boss, my upbringing, education, whatever, choose anything you want. But when you say, okay, it is my fault or my responsibility, right? Then one of two things happen. What oftentimes happens is, once I get out of debt, once I get some money saved, once my income goes up a little bit better, then I won't have any financial problems. Is that logical? Of course it is, right? Once I pay off the debt, once I have more income, once I have some savings, once I'm better back on my feet and I'm not paycheck to paycheck, I've got extra money every paycheck, then my financial problems are solved. Here's the reality of it. You graduate to a new level of financial problems. You just don't have problems with debt and pay anymore, but you have a new level of problems that require a new level of consciousness and thinking to solve. And once you get through those, there's a new level of finance. Now, here's what really happens, is at a certain level we just sort of tap out. Like, right? Like we're, what is that called? UFC fighter. We just tap out. Like, okay, I'm good. That's all the financial, like, I'm good at this level of finances, and we just sort of tap out and just sort of remain there. But like I was sharing with somebody just recently, that, like my brother-in-law, they estimate he's worth, I don't know, $600 million, $700 million. Oh my God, he's got it made. The level of his financial problems, quite frankly, I don't mean to be disrespectful, you couldn't comprehend. You're not, at your level of financial understanding and well-being, you're not capable of comprehending what those problems look like, what they feel like, or the level of consciousness to work through them. Completely different level. So it's not that they go away, and as soon as he figures out those, he'll be a billionaire. But he's working through those now, right? So, why do I tell that to you? I'm not trying to depress you as we get started, but like, there's a constant graduation in life, whether it's your finances like I just described, or your health and fitness, or your faith, or your relationships, your most important relationships with key people in your life, or your relationships with really the world and your community, right? In each area of our life, there's this graduation process. And so, the sooner we accept responsibility for fixing and solving all these things, the sooner we decide I've got to be more resourceful than the problem, the challenge, the adversity, the obstacle that I'm facing. The sooner we go, hey, Rich Thawley, one of my mentors, one of the founders of the company, described it to me this way. He goes, life is pretty much always like you're going uphill and you've got the wind in your face. It's not impossible to go uphill with the wind in your face, but it sure is a lot more convenient and comfortable to go downhill with the wind at your back, right? And that's what we want life to be. And there's seasons in life where it sort of feels like that way. Like it's just really easy, like everything's just happening for me. But your expectation shouldn't be like, once I do this, then it's going to be like all blue skies, all green pasture, the wind is always going to be at my back, and it's going to be like downhill. Like, new believers oftentimes think, well, now that I found the Lord, now that I found this relationship, now that I found this, like, life's going to be easy. No, actually, no. Not at all, right? Life in general, if we understand that really most of my life is going to feel like I'm going uphill and I've got the wind in my face, if I accept that and I don't try and fight it or resist it, it's a lot easier to conquer it. It's a lot easier to take it on. But we have to accept that. And we have to accept, we don't have to, you can do anything you want. I'm just asking you to consider taking total responsibility. Even though the fact of the matter is, some of the things, if you say I'm taking total responsibility, some of the things really will be outside of your control. Some things really won't be fair. Some things really will be unjust. Some things really will be you getting the shaft. But it just doesn't serve you to get caught up giving away your power to those things. Because the minute we point the finger, it's like we release all power and all control over those things. It's like my wife, the mama bear in her, and she's an unbelievable mother, in my opinion. When our kids get the shaft, they're treated unfairly by coaches, by teachers, by family members, like cousins, or by other students, like, she's like, "Ah!" And she wants to go in and right the wrong, right? She wants to fix the injustice. And I'm like, please don't. Because I want my kids to learn that life isn't fair oftentimes. And so how do we work through it when it's not fair? Are we the victim and we just sort of sit back and like, boo, that's not fair? Like, I don't want them to learn that reaction to when life treats them unfair, because they're going to have a boss that's an a-hole. They're going to have somebody that screws them over in a business deal or a financial deal. They're going to have somebody who's close to them that borrows money and has good intentions but never pays them. They're going to have stuff happen. I don't want them like being the victim and reacting. I want them to learn to be resourceful and respond in the moment, their best self. And the best time that I've got to teach them is when they're under my care in my home. So I'm not going to protect them from those experiences. I'm going to teach them. Okay? So just something for you guys to consider today. Okay? So I'm going to start. You guys are like, oh, not this crap again. Yeah, this crap again. I'm going to start by reading from Steve Adams' book that I stole a couple weeks ago, and he still doesn't know it's missing. But I appreciate him for letting me steal it, right?
You stole it again.
I did. I stole it a couple weeks ago, and I have to give it back. Top 10 book. If you haven't bought it already, top 10 book. Why? Because it's 1 to 2 page chapters, super easy to read at your own pace. Eduardo, let's make sure we get this on the list, right?
Yeah, yes.
Eduardo's on a reading campaign. So I just want to remind you, because some of you were here Thursday, some of you listened to the call Friday, some of you did both, and still haven't really put in the time and effort into what we asked you to do for this morning. And I'm not shaming you. Awareness. Like, whether you do it or not, I'm good. I've done mine. I'm on my program, right? I'm just trying to teach and encourage and provide a little bit of accountability, right? So I just want to read this real quickly because it's a great reminder you're not alone. If you're one of those people that were here Thursday or listened to the call or both and haven't put the work on your dreams and your goals, like, you're not alone. You're part of the masses. And it's encouraging to know, okay, I'm not alone, I'm not an idiot, there's no reason to beat myself up, right? But what is it that I need to shift, and what continues to delude me in this area, right? It's just like, somebody was texting me this morning that they hadn't done as much as they wanted, which was code word for they really hadn't done anything. And they were like, I'm really stuck, and I'm like, if you're really stuck, can I ask you a question? And to their credit, they were being really coachable to my feedback, right? I said, if you're really stuck in putting together the exercise that we talked about and we provided the worksheets, can I ask you a question like, how much time sincerely have you put into this? And they're like, not enough. I'm like, that's what I thought. You just haven't put time into it. It's not that you're stuck, you haven't genuinely put time into it. I said, so when are you going to? And they're like, I'm committing to today. They said, I'm going to give it as much time as necessary. I said, well, how much time specifically? Right? Because when you use generalizations, it just is nothing. They said, well, 2 hours. I go, you won't need more than 2 hours. You put 2 hours into it, like, you're going to be good. You're going to be really good. I just know how long it takes because I've done it so many times. But here's what Sibo talks about. Remember, he talks about the different classes of people, right? And so he talks about, you've got the world class, which these markers are not world class, right? You've got the upper class. You've got the middle class. You've got the working class. And you've got the poor. Now these are largely, but not entirely, but largely defined how? One way is income. Would be one way to determine this. Another way would be net worth. Would those be the only ways? No, because like, I would suggest like, to me, like Mother Teresa or Mahatma Gandhi or Dr. Martin Luther King were world-class thinkers, world-class level of consciousness, world-class leaders and influencers, but I don't think any of them had a world-class income or a world-class net worth. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like Charlier, I think when he came here, he had a working class income in the Marine Corps. It wasn't middle class, it was working class. He was making like $33,000 a year and working like 100 hours a week, right? But I think he already probably had an upper class level of consciousness because of the level of responsibility and leadership that he had risen to within the Marine Corps. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So these are easy external ways of sort of identifying, but they're not the only way. But for most of us, they're a pretty easy way for us to identify this. In other words, Charlier was an exception because he was in a field where he had risen to the top, and yet income just wasn't a part of that, right? Same with Mother Teresa, same with Dr. King. For most of us, this is a very obvious way, and most of us fall right in here. We're lower middle class, we're middle class, we're upper middle class, right? Nothing wrong with that. We all want to what? We all want to have world-class level income, world-class level net worth, world-class level health and fitness, world-class level relationships, right? World-class level faith, right? We all want to be like aspire to grow in these areas. So what's stopping us? I just want to get started here, and I can drive some of you guys crazy, but repetition is what? You guys are so good. Of the 5 major levels of consciousness, my experience has been that performers at the middle class levels of consciousness suffer the grandest delusions. The middle class suffer what?
The grandest delusions.
Who's middle class? Yeah, okay. So the poverty level is barely surviving and living in a very harsh set of circumstances. The working class is punching a mental time clock and counting the days until retirement. They're usually not expecting much, and no one around them expects much either. They're not typically concerned about climbing any higher. So people at this level just aren't really concerned about climbing any higher. They're good. Like they've solved the problems to get to here, and they're just good. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's the middle class that is the most incongruent with reality. The middle class is what?
Most incongruent with reality.
They're operating at a high enough level to understand that higher levels exist. That's true of every single one. You wouldn't be a part of our organization if you didn't have, if you weren't operating at a high enough level to understand that higher levels exist for you, right? So you're already operating at this high of a level to understand, like, hey, there's more out there that I could be doing, experiencing, contributing, serving, right? Although they don't expect to get there, the thought crosses their mind from time to time. I think you're above this, because I think the thought crosses your mind more than occasionally that you're going to get there, right? I think in the back of your mind, you have this devil and angel sort of going back and forth where there's doubt that I'll get there because I've been here for so long, but there's hope, and I think there's a real possibility because I see others around me that are doing it. And so it's like this, no you can't, you're not good enough, but I think I can, but I'm pretty sure, but it's this, right?
Yeah.
Sort of this internal dialogue that goes back and forth, yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Should talk to a psychologist about that internal dialogue. Because of their low expectations, their actions are incongruent with their desires. Their actions are incongruent with their desires. In other words, they want to live the life of the world class, but they're unwilling to pay the price. So when we say their actions are incongruent with their desires, this is just, once again, not beat up, not shame. We talked about Thursday night, how we label things is really important. So I'm telling you how not to label it. I didn't do my homework. I didn't really put in that strong of an effort since Thursday night's class or since Friday's call. Don't label that as I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I can't believe I didn't do that. I meant, like, that's not the way to label it. The way to label it is this is an aha moment. I'm aware, I'm learning something about myself because I intended to do it. I knew it would be a good idea to do it, but I didn't follow through. There's a learning opportunity there for me. That's the proper way to label it if you want to seriously shift levels of consciousness. When we label it the wrong way, we get stuck or we're actually dropping our level of consciousness. So how you label it's important. But also being aware that this is one of the areas we delude ourselves, because I know I can take the next level, I know I can get out of debt, I know I can make more money, I know I can contribute more, but then my behavior, is what he's saying, is incongruent with what I'm telling myself. Because I didn't follow through on something that's relatively simple. Like I said, 30 minutes, you could have gotten a really good rough draft together. That's what I told you guys Thursday night, right? Because of their low expectations, their actions are incongruent with their desires. In other words, they want to live the life of the world class, but they're unwilling to pay the price. Since this reality is too harsh to bear, they delude themselves into thinking they're doing everything in their power to get ahead. Of course they're not. They'll tell you they're putting in far more time than they are. They'll swear they are thinking about their vision all the time, but they're not. The world class is brutally honest with themselves, and they tend to look reality in the face. They err on the side of over-practicing and over-preparing. Champions know that to ascend to the top, you must first be operating from a mindset of objective reality. That's taking personal responsibility. Self-deception and delusion have no place in the professional performer's consciousness. Okay. So when he says here, and I'll put it down because you guys are already tired of this book. We're preaching. Thank you. They'll swear to you they're thinking about their vision all the time, but they're not. Okay? Here's what I've been trying to do for the past couple of weeks, and I tried a different way Thursday and yesterday to do, is to actually get you to begin to think about your vision more often. That's what we're trying to do with the e-vision boards, right? That's what we're trying to do with the goals and the business plan, is get you thinking about it more often. If I can get you to think enough about it, like an hour or two, and actually constructing it, that's probably 2 hours more than you spent all year thinking about your vision and your goals. But I'd be like, probably. And then if I can get you to spend 2 or 3 or 4 minutes a day just glancing at it, just reviewing it, just looking at the pictures, we can start building the habit, the routine of actually thinking more about our vision than we ever have before. And if we can begin to think about our vision on a daily basis, even for just a few minutes a day, we can change the trajectory of where we're going. Why? Because as we change what we're thinking about and focused on, we're naturally going to change our behavior. We don't have to willpower or discipline ourselves. It's naturally going to follow, it's naturally going to follow the direction that you're looking. If you ever get a chance to do one of those deals like at the speedway where you get a chance to drive at like a NASCAR level car, super fast car, they have you go through like a training first, right? And one of the things that they teach you is you're driving, right? And it's left turns. It's all left turns, right? So you're turning like this. If you begin to lose control and your car starts sliding towards the wall, here's what they teach you. Look away from the wall and look in the direction you want the car to go. Human nature, why do they teach that? Because human nature is, I'm losing control, and you stare at the thing that you don't want to hit. And it changes the behavior in your body, and 9 times out of 10 you wind up hitting the wall. And you've got to, as much as you're afraid of hitting the wall, you've got to turn your physical head to where you want to go. And that's how they teach professional race car drivers to avoid hitting the wall and to pull it back into control. Why? Because what you're looking at determines your trajectory, even when it goes through a motor vehicle like that. So what I want to do is I want to begin to change what you're looking at a little bit each day, which begins to change your trajectory and your behavior along with it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
We got lots to cover. We're just getting started. So, I want to review the worksheets real quick with you guys. If you missed Thursday, if you missed Friday, real quick. For those of you that were here Thursday and listened on Friday, repetition is what? Mother of all learning, right. Okay, so we went on the home theater, no, we went on the GT, boom. Okay, so this was the handout that Evelyn posted on GroupMe for you guys. Okay, so here was an example of how not to do your vision board. Why is that an example of how not to in my mind? Because though those pictures represent an idea, they don't get us very excited. They just like, a debt-free sign doesn't get me near as excited as actually like, you know what would be better than that? Taking your credit card statements or your car loans or your student loans or your mortgage and taking a copy of it. Right? No. Scanning it and then editing it so that it shows a zero balance at the bottom. And then you scan it, take a picture of it, and put it up there. So it's your real mortgage note, your real car loan, your real credit cards with your name and your information, and then you see it bounced out at zero. Like, start focusing on that every day. That'll get you freaking excited. That'll get you way more excited than a debt-free just ahead. Because it's like, you've seen this statement a million times before, but you've never seen it look like this. And the more you see it look like this, the more it changes your trajectory and your behavior. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Your savings. Pull up your savings account. Pull up your checking account. Edit it. Boom. And all of a sudden it looks the way you want it to look. I was showing, who was I showing that to? Oh, it was Adela. Remember when I showed you on Thursday? This was years ago I did this. I had taken this picture of this super fit guy, and I think Fitzroy did it for me. He transposed my head on the body of this super fit guy. Now, what makes it even funnier, he was a light-skinned brother, and then later on, I found out he was gay. But that's cool, like that was my head on his body, right? So that's like I was visioning you, and I want to be a brother that, you know. Yeah, it's like, it's all good. But he had a deal, right? Yeah. But like literally I did that visualizing that, right? Same with each one of these, right? So that's why I don't like these. Not that they're bad representations. I want you to see pictures to get you super excited. Boom. Here's an example, right, of like what I did. And I want you to see there's no margins between the pictures. They almost overlap again. I want to saturate your mind, right? I want to saturate your mind visually. So when you look at it, it's like I don't see any white space. I just see all of these things. They get me excited. I start going through them one by one by one by one. And then in the middle of it, I've got my goals for the month. My goals for when? The month. The month. The month. And so at the end of the month, I erase that part and I write new goals for the new month. Because I just don't go, well, I want to do the same thing in January. No. I evaluate what I did, what I want to do, and I change my goals every month. Don't be lazy about goal setting. It's a skill. The more you evaluate, refine them, review them, and set new ones, the better you get at it. The more you just go, I'm just going to keep trying to hit the same old goals week after week, month after month, you get stale and into a routine. Trust me on that, okay? Don't resist me, trust me. It's a skill. How do we get better at skills? Repetition. Because repetition is the mother of learning. So not just me repeating myself, you repeating certain actions of skills you want to build. How many of you want to be a great goal setter? How many of you want to be a great goal achiever? Okay, that's how we do it. We keep working at it, right? So that's what it should look like. Here's our little worksheet that we put together. Here's where you put pictures, and in the middle you put your monthly goals. As if this wasn't clear enough, right? We're trying really hard, right? Trying really hard, like paint by numbers goals here for you, right? Okay? You don't have to actually use this sheet. This was just a further representation, right? So here's our worksheet. Your word of the year. Choose a word so that if I called on Robin in March, or Jeanette in May, right? Or Sharon in October, or Carol in November, I just say, hey, real quick in the middle of the chain, hey, what's your word for the year, Sean? You just, like you know it, because it's literally been your word for the year. This is the word that's going to define 2020 for me. It gives you a place of groundedness. It centers you in what it is your year is about, and where you're going, and what you're trying to achieve. Does that make sense? It's easy to clutch onto a word, and it's just going to center you. But you need to choose one for the year that means something to you. Number 2 is verse of the year. I'm going to change this because not everybody has a verse of the year. It can be a quote of the year or a verse of the year. Like mine has always been a verse of the year, but yours doesn't have to. You can make yours a quote of the year, right? You can pull a John Maxwell or Tony Robbins, or you probably want to use one of my quotes, but you can use somebody else's too, right? If you want to use a quote of the year, okay? But you want to have one that 3-4 weeks into the year, you said it to yourself so many times, like this verse or this quote I'm hanging on to, along with this word, this is my year. And when life goes like this, and days and weeks and seasons go like this, I've got this word and this quote or this verse that are just sort of like my true north for the year. It's like having that lighthouse, and it's a stormy night, you're at sea, and it's like, okay, I can still see the lighthouse. I can still anchor to my word for the year, my verse or quote for the year. Does that make sense? Any questions?
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. And then choose 3 big goals for the year. I don't want you to have 15 or 20. If you want to do 15 or 20, go ahead and do it. But if you're going to work with me and want my feedback, shoot me it this way. Because it's just too hard to get 15 or... change is hard. Choose 3 that are super important to you that, if at the end of the year, here's the question to ask yourself. At the end of the year, it's December 27th of 2020. And you're looking back on the entire year of 2020. If I only accomplished 3 things this year, 2020, and I look back at them, what 3 things would make me feel awesome about 2020? Man, there's a bunch of things I didn't do, but I did this, and I accomplished this, and I got here in this area of my life. What are those 3 things that would make you feel awesome for 2020? Get clear on those. Look at it right now. If you look back on 2019, what are the 3 things that you could have achieved, done, accomplished this year that would make you feel radically different today about 2019 than you do already? What are those 3 things? And then what are some measurable targets that help you know you're on track to achieve those things? Once again, we've got a sample for you to go through. I like to have some specific targets for Q1, quarter 1 in there. I like to have some key areas for development. What are key areas for development? Warner and I were talking about this Thursday night. For you guys, here might be a good one for you. You want to know what a good one might be?
Yes.
So a good one might be, I want to focus on objection handling in the first quarter. I want to focus on closing in the first quarter. And so that's a key area of development. What does that mean, focusing on objection handling or closing? Here's what it means. I'm going to find as many podcasts as I can to listen to the subject of closing. I'm going to find as many workbooks or books that I can read on the subject. I'm just going to find whatever resources I can on on objection handling or on closing or whatever that focus happens to be for you. Or maybe it's fitness related, right? or maybe it's faith related, but what are the key areas that you sort of want to grow in that's just sort of an overarching theme for the first quarter? And I like it to be the first quarter, because then whether you do it or not, you get a chance to do sort of a restart for the second quarter. Make sense?
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. Is this helpful?
Yes.
Affirmations. As I mentioned Thursday, choose 8 or 10 or 12. For most of you, I don't want you to have 20 or 25 or 50, because you won't do it. It's going to go, I'm too busy to read all those affirmations. I'd rather you have 6 that you read every day than 50 that you read every 3 days. It's every day, every day, every day, every day that begins to change the software, change the programming, change that internal dialogue. Now I was talking earlier about the angel and the devil inside you that sort of says, no you won't, yes I will, no you won't, yes I will, right? I want to change the program. I want to minimize and get rid of the no you won't. And affirmations are one of the ways when we create new audio tracks in our mind. And now it's like, yes you will, I think I will. Yes you will, I think I will. That's 2 better audio tracks than no you won't, yes I will. Does that make sense? We got to begin to create the new audio tracks, and you have to consciously do it. You have to choose the audio tracks, okay? Like, I don't go to the gym and just turn on Spotify and just say, press like play whatever. I choose my tracks, right? Because there's certain tracks I want to listen to, right? Choose the tracks that go on up here. That's way more important than your Spotify playlist, right? You know, Spotify has that deal where they'll show you what are the most played songs, most listened to songs that you have for the year. I want the most played songs, the most played tracks up here for you in 2020 to be ones that are empowering, inspiring, that lift you up, that encourage you, that help you to be your best. Not the ones that have been playing for decades. Okay? That's how we do it. Once again, remember what Siebold said. Most of us will delude ourselves into think we're working hard at this stuff. This is really easy stuff to do. It's simple to do, to create, follow this worksheet, to create this. It's simple to do every day. In the morning for 2, 3, 4 minutes, and at night for 2, 3, 4 minutes. But most people never. They'll do it a handful of times. They just can't create the new habit. They can't break the routine of the old habit. And this is one of those things that's a complete difference maker in your entire life. If you quit the business and I never see you again, but you just put together this little worksheet and began doing this for the rest of your life daily, your life would have a much better trajectory than had you never seen this before, had you never been a part of the company. Like, this is the work, and it's not even real work. We're talking about 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 minutes in an entire day, per day, spent in the mental gym, right? And getting the mental exercises in, so that I'm mentally stronger, I'm mentally tougher, I'm mentally more focused on the things that I want, I'm mentally more immune to the distractions and the things that I don't want. It's 5 to 10 minutes a day. I know you're busy, but if you're too busy to really be doing that, then you're choosing to be busy over choosing the life that you really want. And I don't think that's really a choice that you want to make, right?
Right.
So, the affirmations we've got down here, look at this. Who loves you?
You do.
Look at all these affirmations. Here's all these on faith. Here's all these on fitness, finance, personal growth, awareness and responsibility, business, getting wide. All you have to do is choose 8 or 10 or 12. You can create your own, but we've made it easy. It's like cookie cutter for you, right? Like, I want to share a couple of these with you real quick, because they're so stinking good. It is my intention to forgive everyone. Do you know how much lighter you'll feel in December of 2020 if you just affirm that every day? It's my intention to forgive everyone. Like, you just create an audio track intentionally every day, and at the end of the year that just runs like autopilot without even you thinking about it. God, it lightens your freaking load like you can't imagine. How many of you would like your load lightened? Yeah. You can lighten your load by programming what's going to be running on autopilot. Oh, Remember I talked about labeling things? Here's a really good one for a bunch of you. I intend to allow myself to make mistakes. I intend to love myself unconditionally, no matter how many mistakes I make. Like, if you've got a habit of beating yourself up and making mountains out of molehills, those two back to back, you start getting that run on autopilot. Now, all of a sudden you make mistakes. It's like, it's okay, it's just a mistake. What can I learn from it? And you just keep going on. As opposed to, I can't believe I did that. I'm such a freaking idiot. I'm so stupid. I always do this. And then you got that running autopilot for the next decade. Which, like, can you see how the trajectory would be different?
Yeah, totally.
Right? Really, really important. Here's what I was just talking about. I intend to practice total responsibility. I intend to practice total responsibility. This is one that probably should be the first affirmation all of you have. I choose to review my dreams and goals every morning and every evening and enjoy the process. What if you just start saying that to yourself every day, and all of a sudden that just ran autopilot without you even thinking about it every day? And all of a sudden by the end of the year, that's running autopilot, and all of a sudden it's like you got this voice in your head that just says, I love reviewing my dreams and goals every morning. I love reviewing my dreams and goals every evening. Right? Are there things that you can't help yourself? Like, for me the past 2 weeks it's been sugar cookies, right? Like, if you're just uncontrollable. What if the uncontrollable thing instead of sugar cookies was reading your dreams and goals every day? I just can't help it. No, hang on a second, Kim. Hang on a second. I gotta finish this. Okay, now what was it that you needed? Like, I just can't help myself. That can be you. Right? Look at this. 2012 is the best year of my life. That'd be a good one for some of you. Right? But we can't do that. But that shows you how old some of these affirmations are for us, right? I do tough things first. I'm mentally tough and welcome adversity. I always play full out. I reach my goals by proving my commitment level to that goal. Roadblocks test my commitment. Life is a test. See how many years I read that for? One after the other after the other. Can you see the way that you start reading that over and over and over, and that gets planted in your subconscious, and it runs an autopilot on the background, how that changes the trajectory of your life? How many of you acknowledge that from time to time, there's tough things, tough conversations, tough things that you need to do, and you put it off, you put it off, you put it off? Does that ever happen to anyone?
Yes. Yeah.
Wouldn't you love to have the mental attitude that I do tough things first? And then you just got them over with, and you're not carrying the baggage of knowing you need to do that and fearing it. Right? Here's something for me and Steve. I intend to have an excellent memory with clear, easy, and timely recall. Right? That's for me and Steve, right? It's a good one, right?
Thank goodness you have Michelle.
Yeah. Here's one that I needed years ago. I intend to remember people's names quickly and easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead, what do? Hi, my name's Chstroipher. And you say, hi, my name. Okay, great. And then like you're 30 seconds in, you're like, but that's okay. If you allow yourself to make mistakes and love yourself unconditionally no matter how many mistakes you make, but if you don't have that running program, here's what you do instead. Oh shit, I can't believe I forgot her name. What a freaking idiot I am. I never remember any people's names. What the hell's wrong with me? Blah, 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 blah. And you grab that tape running again. So that's the tape that used to run in my head. Now the tape that runs in my head, right, is I intend to learn people's names quickly and easily. And enjoy the process.
Christopher,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things we did that NERCA training years ago.
Uh-huh.
I got one thing that stuck with me, and I love it, is I am becoming.
Yeah.
I am becoming.
Yeah, that's excellent. I intend to plan a successful week every week and follow the plan each week. I intend to be intense and competitive. Listen to this. I intend to believe that everyone I meet and know is a great prospect for my business. I intend to believe that everyone I meet and know is a great prospect for my business. Notice, I didn't say I believe. Because my subconscious would go, no you don't. I said, I intend to believe. I'm allowing myself to get there. My subconscious can't say, no, you don't intend to believe that. There's no block, so I plant that seed every day, okay? I intend to take great pride in myself and my company's image and reputation in the marketplace. I intend to bring out the best in my agents, my teammates, and my clients. I intend to quickly and easily discover each and every prospect and client's needs. Why? Because I've always taken a needs-based approach. I intend to quickly and easily discover each and every prospect and client's needs. This is a really good one for some of you. I intend to understand the difference between a setback and a defeat. Hell yeah, it is. That's why I wrote it. I intend to understand the difference between a setback and a defeat. There's always a way if I'm committed. If I can't, then I must. Imagine you got that running in the back of your brain. If I can't, then I must. If I can't, then I must. And all of a sudden you're stuck in a situation, you're like, oh crap, I can't. And all of a sudden your brain goes, if I can't, then I must. Like, how much does that just shift your total energy, your resourcefulness, right? It's like a lightning bolt just goes through you. This is my year, right? They made this company for me. I believe it. I believe that. They made this company for me. I believe that. Can you guys begin to see, I just went through a dozen of them, the power of affirmations?
Yeah.
If you're telling yourself this out loud, not in your quiet voice, out loud, if you're just repeating these things on a daily basis, it's 2, 3, 4 minutes. But can you tell the difference just in your energy, just as I say the words to you? Imagine you're saying the words in your own voice, how that's going to make you feel. Right? There's a ton of good ones in here. So, your trick is just to choose 6 or 8 or 10 or 12. I literally don't want you choosing more. Here's what you do. Choose 6, 8, or 10, or 12. Prove to me that you can say them every day, a couple of times a day for the first quarter. And then you can add some new ones or maybe replace some with some new ones. Like this one I got locked in. I'm going to add this one and delete this one. But what's more important is the daily repetition than how many of them. Because some of you are going to be like, I can't narrow it down. Yes, you can. That's part of being successful. Is learning to choose what's the most important. As opposed to going, I can't choose, I'm just going to have more. Okay? Do you all agree to just have no more than 12? Yes? Yes? Okay. So, associations. We talked about this the other day. Choose, maybe you choose, in the area of health. Maybe you choose in the area of business. Maybe you choose in the area of relationships. And then who are 3, 4, 5 people in each one of the, who are 3, 4, 5 people that I know are in great shape, great health, eat right, have a lot of energy, that I want to choose as an association in that area of my life. Now maybe they've been divorced 14 times, so I'm not going to choose them in my relationship quadrant, okay? But in health, here's what I'm choosing the association for, okay? Maybe it's relationships, and I've got 3 people on the list who have marriages of 20 years or more, and I can just tell they're great marriages. They're crazy about each other. They laugh together. They enjoy each other. And then maybe I have 2 other relationships where, you know what, this person isn't married, or this person has only been married a short period of time, but I just admire how many relationships they have. They have relationships with so many different people from different walks of life, and they seem to be rich and engaged relationships, not just like likes on Instagram. So maybe I include that person, right? Business. Who are the business associations? Here's who they shouldn't be. Anybody that's around your level of success. And I wouldn't really choose as much by title associations. I'd choose more by team size and income than just title. Because titles can be misleading. Title could be something I did 3 years ago or 10 years ago, right? I'd choose team size and income looking for associations, right? Schedule, for those of you that are going to be coaching with me, I want to see a detailed example of an actual day in your calendar and a detailed example of an actual week in your calendar. What I suggested the other day was that there shouldn't be any margins in your schedule. When you put together a calendar like a Google Calendar or some sort of electronic calendar, there shouldn't be gaps of 2, 3, 4 hours in a day. Because you don't have 3 and 4 hour gaps in any days, do you?
No.
Then why would there be a gap in your schedule? You've got to put the things in there that you're planning on doing, that you're prioritizing. They got to be in there. And you're like, well, I can't fit everything in my schedule. Yeah, and you can't get everything done in a day or a week, so you be in control and choose in advance. When you don't put it in your schedule, then you allow oftentimes priorities to fall, and things that you enjoy doing, that you're good at, that give you a sense of certainty, and I got it done, to rise up. And that's why you get stuck. Upper class and world class thinkers are masters at prioritizing. Prioritizing relationships, events, activities, experiences. Not everything is equal. They choose one over the other. Because to be successful, you have to choose oftentimes two things that you really want that are in conflict with each other. I said Thursday night, my wife really wanted me to stay home Thursday night, right, and just chill and watch some movies and just snuggle up under the blankets, right, and I wanted to do that with her, and I wanted to be here with you guys Thursday night. Those are two things I really, really wanted that were in conflict. I had to choose one. And I chose what was the priority. It's not that my wife is a much bigger priority in my life, but I can make her the priority in my life without making her the priority in the moment. Does that make sense? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so successful people know how to do that. You can't be at the whim of like, oh, daddy, mommy, honey, this. Like, it's not going to work. Like, you've got to be in charge, understand where you're going and how the priorities sort of fit in there, right? When you're not doing a good job of prioritizing and scheduling, then when people pull at you like that, you cave in because of guilt. And the only reason that you're guilty in those areas is because you haven't made them a priority in your schedule. Like, you haven't thought ahead and planned them in there, so it winds up, they guilt their way into it, right? You haven't planned to take care of your body nutritionally and health-wise, so then disease comes along and forces you to take time out and deal with your health. That's the way life always does it, right? If you don't prioritize the things that are important to you, those areas of life show up and demand your time and attention. Whether that's financially, whether it's health, relationally, it just does. Better for you to sort of dictate and prioritize and schedule in advance than all of a sudden just everything get wrecked like that. Accountability. Coach or mentor. Who's your coach or mentor? Let them know that you want them to be your coach or mentor. Who's your upline? And then decide with your upline and your coach or mentor, what should I be accountable for on a daily basis? What do I want to be accountable for? And have a pre-scheduled time at 9 o'clock every night, at 10 o'clock every night, at 11 o'clock every night, at 5 o'clock every night. I'm going to text both my upline and my coach or mentor certain things based on what I'm trying to achieve. But it should be the same categories every single day for months at a time. Right?
Question.
Yeah.
Can those be changed on a quarterly basis?
For sure. For sure. For sure. Yeah. In many cases should be. But why don't people do this? Lazy, scared. Scared of what? Scared. Because you haven't done what you're supposed to be doing, so you don't want. So that's more of a pride or ego thing. I don't want to report because I didn't follow through. I don't want to look bad.
Yeah, it's not in the comfort zone.
Yeah, it's out of their comfort zone. It's not part of their identity, right? It's not part of their level of thinking or consciousness, right?
Yeah.
We oftentimes look at accountability in a negative way. Oh, it's the boss and I'm the employee, right? It's the teacher and I'm the student. We oftentimes look at it in a negative connotation. Here's what I'll tell you is upper class and world class don't. Like, Kobe Bryant had coaches on the Lakers, and then he had coaches that he hired, Tim Grover, outside of the Lakers, that he paid money to for a higher level of accountability than his professional basketball coaches could give him. He chose accountability. Well, what level of consciousness do you think Kobe was? Yeah. Yeah. Tiger Woods has a swing coach. He plays significantly better golf than any swing coach he's ever had. The swing coaches he's had couldn't make a living on the tour. Tiger's made more money on the tour than anybody, yet he hires somebody else that he's accountable to for working on his swing. and its mechanics. Because upper level consciousness thinkers understand the value of accountability. So once again, if we're not being accountable, a lot of times it's why? Because I've got audio tracks that are running in my head that tell me I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed, I didn't follow through, I only want to step on the scale when I've had good days, I don't want to step on the scales when I've eaten poorly, right? That we have these audio tracks that are running that like my mistakes or my shortcomings or whatever are defining me. So we got to learn to relabel those experiences, and accountability helps us to relabel those experiences. Okay. And then in addition to the text, you should have a face-to-face meeting weekly or bi-weekly, and you should decide with the coach, with the mentor, with the upline when specifically that's going to be, and what specifically you're going to cover in that meeting. It's not just a BS session. Any questions on that? How many of you are willing to give that a try? Say aye.
Aye.
How many of you are opposed? Okay, we'll see. Motion carries. Okay. Crap, that was a very long review. And I had all this new stuff I wanted to get into. Actually Thursday. So here's what I want to get into next. All the next stuff I want to get into, and it probably will bleed over into Thursday, is about your energy. Okay, so here's what I know. It's the 27th today. Wednesday, 28th today. Wednesday at midnight. If you're not done with your vision board and your goals and all the worksheet, like you're starting the game already behind. Don't do that to yourself. Commit to a specific amount of time today, and a specific time when today, or tomorrow, or Monday, or Tuesday, worst case scenario, but get it done for you, not for me. And my son will come begging, I am, because I know a bunch of you just won't. You'll have good intentions, you just won't do it. It won't be that big of a priority to you. It won't be that important to you. I just want to challenge you and encourage you to change your thinking on that, because it's not going to change my life, it's going to change yours. I already got stuff that changes my life. I'm trying to share that with you. So, the next group of things I want to share with you is energy related, okay? And your energy is super important. Oh, by the way, these questions internal, some of these are like good quasi-affirmations. Some of these are really good. Anyway, did I read you guys this Millionaire Diamond Mine?
No.
Can I?
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. So, you, a money magnet? Absolutely. Magnetism is one of the prime moving forces in the universe. It is the power that binds galaxies together. It's the force that moves the tiniest subatomic particles in your own body. The Earth itself is a huge magnet. In everyday life, you find magnets in telephones, televisions, microwaves, and so on. Around every magnet, there's an invisible magnetic field of attraction. When a nail comes into contact with this magnetic field, it's drawn to the magnet as if by magic. You remember when you were a little kid and you first started playing with like a magnet, you're like, whoa! And you're like, how far away can I let it go? And it's like, whoa! Right? And you're like, how's it do that? It's invisible, right? It's like magic, right? The nail has no choice. It never says to itself, I think I'll ignore the magnetic field today. It's important to understand this principle. Did you know that when a nail comes into contact with a permanent magnet, the nail becomes a temporary magnet itself, acquiring all the powers of attraction that it did not previously possess? As long as the nail remains near the magnet, it retains these new magnetic powers. If the magnet is taken away, the nail returns to its original state. I explained this once before, not long ago. Briefly, here's the way it works. You've got a magnet, right? And it's got a plus and a minus side. And all of the atoms, if these are atoms, are faced one way, right? They're faced this way, going down, right?
Right.
And so if a nail comes into contact, prior to coming in contact, the nail's atoms at a subatomic level are facing in all different directions.
Right.
The minute the nail comes into contact, what it begins to do is much like the magnet, it aligns all of its atoms in the same direction that the magnet has. So then if we take a new nail or a paper clip and bring it up near the nail, what happens? All of the magnetic powers here, all the way the subatomic particles are arranged, it now acts as a magnet itself and reorganizes all of the atoms inside of it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
That's pretty good drawing, huh?
Great draw.
Should be one of your affirmations. I intend to be a better drawer in the new year. Right? Science guy. When you examine the atoms of the nail under a microscope, you discover that they possess magnetic attributes, but they are disorganized, which I showed in the first drawing. The atoms of the nail point in all different directions, thus canceling out one another's electromagnetic charge. One's pointing negative, one's pointing positive, one's pointing half this way, one's pointing halfway. They cancel each other out. That's why a nail away from a magnet has no magnetic field, right? No magnetic qualities. When a magnet attracts a nail, the atoms in the nail begin to line up to match the atoms in the magnet, becoming like the magnet. The more aligned these atoms become, the more the ordinary nail behaves like a magnet. Can you smell the analogy that's coming? Your own body is a field of electromagnetic activity. That's not some philosophical wish-wash. That's scientific fact. Your own body is a field of electromagnetic activity. Each of your trillions of atoms in your body is a tiny machine that generates magnetic energy. You are a walking factory of magnetic power. You too possess magnetic properties, dormant powers of attraction. Since like attracts like, you attract the things you like or want. The more aligned you are with the things you want, the more powerfully you attract them. Things you congruently want. What does congruently want mean? You're not just saying that you want it, but when I look at the picture, when I think about these things, I really want it with all of my being. Like I congruently really want this. You know, sometimes somebody's like, hey, you want to go to the movies tonight? You're like, yeah, sure. Like, are you congruently really wanting to go to the movies? No, you're sort of like going out of obligation or agreement or to be nice, but you don't really congruently want to go. But somebody else goes, hey, you want to go to the movies tonight? You're like, oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. But, right, it's like, that's a congruent one, okay? The things you congruently want have no choice but to be attracted to you. People who are aligned or congruent are attractive. Magnetic, here's the word we use, they're charismatic. Think of the people that you know that you consider to be charismatic. Regardless of how they look physically, is there an attractive quality to them? Is there an attractiveness to the way that they carry themselves? It doesn't even matter what they look like physically, there's an attractiveness when they're charismatic, right? There was a buddy of mine was on the New York trip with the company last week, and he posted a picture. There was some guy they had as like a guest speaker. He was one of these guys that was like in Afghanistan, and an IED just like blew off half of his face. And I mean, unbelievably distorted, like hard to look at, right? And yet my buddy took a picture with him, and I couldn't stop looking at the guy, not because of the distortions. I could feel his energy coming through the picture. Like, the guy, you could tell, like, was totally comfortable inside his own body, was totally comfortable with the circumstances that created this, and you could just tell there was an energy, a charisma, an attraction there that completely superseded what had happened to him physically. Completely superseded. When you are with another congruent being, his or her magnetic power rubs off on you. You ever notice when you're around somebody that's really charismatic, high energy, attractive, like you're around them and you just like feel better about yourself and you feel a little bit more optimistic or a little bit more energetic or just a little bit better about yourself? Yes?
Yes.
You ever notice you're around somebody and even though you like them as a person, they just drain the living hell out of you? Can you love somebody and just choose not to be around them quite so often?
Yeah.
Like, pay attention to it's This is a real thing. I'm not making this up. This is not philosophical witchcraft here. Certain people's energy elevates you, other people's energy drains you. And some people, these are the worst people on the planet. I'm just kidding. Some people are freaking roller coasters. 1 minute they make you feel great, the next minute they make you feel horrible. Right? It's like, woo, woo,
But you
right? It's
forgive
like,
us, Christopher.
what?
But you forgive us, Christopher.
It doesn't matter if I do. What's more important is, do you forgive you, right? Yes, of course I do. The more congruent you are, the wider the... Matter of fact, some of these people, have you noticed, I'm around somebody who's high energy, charismatic, positive, and even after I leave their presence for a period of time, I'm still boss.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I'm around somebody that just drains the living hell out of me, right? Yeah. And I leave them and I'm around somebody that I really care about and love, like my wife or kids, and I'm just like, they're like, what's wrong with you? Nothing. No, seriously, what's wrong? Are you trying to start a fight? Right? Like your energy is just there, right? It's, pay attention. God bless you. Pay attention. The more congruent you are, listen to me, the more congruent you are, the wider the magnetic field is around you. So the more congruent you are with those feelings, those emotions, when you are fully congruent, you're irresistible. You're irresistible. Napoleon Hill writes in Think and Grow Rich, which was really the first great personal development book of all time, written in the 40s, I believe, 30s. He says this, our brains become magnetized with the dominating thoughts which we hold in our minds. And by means with which no man is familiar, these magnets attract us to the forces, the people, the circumstances of life, which harmonize with the nature of our dominating thoughts. In other words, you become a literal magnet for the things you want, and the things you want literally can't say no to. I've got a couple more levels to go beyond this on this particular training, but as you're finishing up your goals this week, here's what I want you to think about. Here's what he said. Our brains become magnetized with the dominating thoughts which we hold in our minds. Our brains become magnified with the dominating thoughts which we hold in our minds. Our brains become magnetized with the dominating thoughts that we hold in our minds. I want you to choose consciously before the year starts the dominating thoughts that you're going to hold in your minds on a daily basis. And I want you to get so clear and so congruent on these dominating thoughts that you begin attracting the people, the resources, the opportunities, the events, the experiences into your life that are going to help you attract these exact experiences into your life. I want you to choose the dominating thoughts that you're going to choose to dominate your thoughts every day and focus on to create that energy behind them. That's all the work we've been doing the past few weeks, is to get you there. Because if you think about it, if you're somebody who's struggling with a lot of credit card debt or a lot of debt in general, I promise you, one of your dominating thoughts on a day-to-day basis is your debt. Is your debt. If you're struggling with your health and nutrition and fitness, I promise you, one of the dominating thoughts that you have is the struggle that you have in that area. Relationally, if you feel like, man, nobody respects me, I promise you one of the dominating thoughts that you have is you're focusing on being disrespected, and then you're finding experiences around you that validate that confirm that, okay? The experiences that we have on a daily and weekly and monthly basis that many of us have been having for years, in some cases decades, are experiences that are dominating our thoughts. I want to teach you to reprogram and begin to have dominating thoughts about the things that are most important to you and the things that you want, not the things that you already have or the things that you don't want. Too much time and energy, too much of our currency, our emotional currency in life, we spend on things we don't want. What do I mean by that? Too much of our mental energy we spend thinking about things in our life that we don't want, that frustrate us, that bother us, that get on our nerves, that overwhelm us. And the more time and emotional energy we put into those things that we don't want, the more of it seems to show up in our lives. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I want to begin to shift that for you. Let's start focusing on, let's start replacing all this time and energy that you're spending thinking about things that you don't want, and let's start replacing it with thinking about the things that I do want. Here's the facts. You spend a couple of minutes today thinking about the things you do want, it's not going to replace in a couple of minutes all of the trained autopilot thoughts that you have about the things that you don't want. But if you spend a couple of minutes this morning, and then a couple of minutes this evening, and then a couple of minutes tomorrow morning, and a couple of minutes tomorrow evening, and then a couple of minutes every morning, every evening next week, and then 2 weeks, and then 3 weeks, and then 4 weeks, and then 5 weeks, what will begin to happen is you'll begin to suppress and minimize those dominating thoughts of the things you don't want. And they won't be quite so dominating anymore, and what will begin to grow is these dominating thoughts of the things that you really do want. Like, Sean's a pretty strong dude. Sean, put out your hands like this. If I took a thread, just a thread, and I wrapped it around Sean's wrist once and tied it, you think he could break it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I bet a lot of money that he could, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
What if I did one more lap and it was just 2 strands now? Could he break it?
Yeah.
What about if it was 3?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he's a pretty strong dude. 4?
Yeah.
It'll get
If
harder
I
and
keep
harder,
doing it,
though.
is there a point where I would get to where he could no longer break it, even though it's just a teeny tiny little thread?
Yeah.
There's a point that you get to, one thread, one strand at a time, morning after morning, evening after evening, day after day, week after week, where this becomes so strong, such a strong dominating thought that you can't turn off. The dominating thoughts of the things, the experiences, the people that mean the most to you, that you want to experience the most, that you want to serve the most, that you want to help the most, that you want to make, you can't turn those off. And those thoughts that used to dominate were of debt, of frustration, of anxiety, of overwhelm, of busyness, of broken relationships, of disease, are so suppressed you can hardly even think about them. And as soon as you start to think about them again, you notice how your energy shifts and you immediately suppress it because you've got these dominating thoughts now that you built over time. Nothing's going to change in a day or two or a week or two. Keep at it, keep at it, keep at it, keep at it, and all of a sudden one day you wake up and it's like magic. It's like magic. And it's not magic. It's you began to reprogram over a period of time, and at some point there was a tipping point and the programming took over just the way you intended it to. The programming you have now you never intended to have. You picked up some viruses, it got running, it grew and expanded, and here we are. Let's change that program intentionally, okay? I hope that helps.
Yes.
We'll finish the whole series on Thursday, because Thursday will be
New Year.
January 2nd. The new year will already be started. Finish the worksheets that we gave you already. If you need help, we'll be posting this video. If you need help, I did a conference call on it yesterday. Thursday will be just sort of an addition on how to move forward once everything's complete. All right, appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Ray.
you.
The year's not over. Finish it strong.